with these kinds of technologies that are allowing us to emulate or improve upon biological proteins, what are the risks associated with that? And then what are the benefits?
Yeah. The risk is basically the risk of any tool. Like, I don't know, you can use a screwdriver both to build up your cupboard, to help fix your car, and you can use it to stab somebody.
Right.
Right?
Everyone's favorite stabbing tool, the screwdriver.
Yes, exactly. And just like any tool, really, AI is dual use. And yes, of course, you can use it to, I don't know, make a poison, let's say, if you want to. But nobody is regulating screwdrivers or knives, for that matter, because knives are better stabbing tools.
They are a better stabbing tool.
But they are also better in the kitchen. So nobody's like forbidding knives, which is because you can use them to cook delicious meals in much shorter time than if you were using a stick. And the same is true for AI for protein design or chemical design overall. You can use older methods to try and come up with catalysts that break down CO2. And you can spend enormous amounts of time on this and spend enormous amounts of money on this. And you will, at some point, come to the same solutions, only it takes you 100 times or 1,000 times as long and as much money. So I would not say that we should ditch this opportunity just because you can also do bad things with it. There's risk anywhere in life, really. I remember being a postdoc in Paris, and there was these really appalling attacks in the Bataclan bar. And then Bataclan was this bar where some people, I think from Belgium, they came and they made a bloodbath.
In an Eagles of Death Metal concert.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And some of my colleagues at the university, and they actually lived across the street, and they were really shocked by this. Everybody was shocked by this. And there was all of this military in Paris walking around the city with their machine guns. And I stood in front of an arts museum, and I saw this long queue of people standing there. And yes, they were standing there in order to get through security to get into the museum. But anybody, any terrorist with the same machine gun could have just gone and shot everybody in the queue. So you do have risk, and you should think about the risk. But in this case, there's so many opportunities attached to it that you have to follow this path.
That is actually a wild vulnerability that I had never thought of, which is that, so, I mean, this is the same in airports too.
Of course.
Like when you, once you're inside through security, of course, that's a very safe place to be.
Yeah.
But you're sitting ducks when it's a jam-packed queue there.
Of course.
And obviously there's no pre-security line screening.
Of course.
Jeez.
Yes.
I mean, never going to stand in an airplane line feeling safe again.
It doesn't matter. You walk around the city. If somebody wants to hurt you, they can.
Yeah. You're not sitting ducks like that airplane scenario. Jeez. that's the most dangerous part of the flight.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So the point is that there's risks associated with AI. It's dual use, just like almost, I'm sure, any tool out there. But the benefits outweigh the risks, and I think that's especially true here when you have technology that can be playing a part in dramatically transforming. And the examples that you provided in this episode so far today, we're talking about dramatically transforming industries, whether it's chemical synthesis or it's pharmaceutical. But there is also applications in this area relatedly, maybe in the coming decades. You talked earlier in this episode about Gene therapies and gene editing is also something that is, thanks to CRISPR, has become much easier in recent years to do that very targetedly, very cost effectively. And so, yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts on other kinds of maybe like thinking ahead decades, the kinds of technology that you're working on here, an AI protein design tool. Do you have any like big picture ideas of huge societal benefits that could be unlocked by technologies like this?
Apart from what we talked about already, like CO2 recycling is one of the big current trends. Antibodies,
Right, CO2 recycling,
and designing them with AI is one of the big trends really in the big pharmaceutical companies as well. I think chemistry in general, like design of molecules other than proteins, also has many interesting applications. I think one of my favorites these days is passive daytime cooling, which is not very practical at the moment. The idea of it, maybe just to give a one-sentence introduction, is you have a material, say a paint or something, you paint your house with it, and it's a passive AC. So you don't need any energy, and it cools down whatever it covers because it's radiating sunlight in a way such that you cool down below ambient temperature. And this, I think, is really one key for combating climate change, because as the world gets hotter, if everybody installs energy-hungry ACs, we are in a vicious cycle.
Right.
And this is one way to break it. I think in many respects, making new materials that are light and stable at the same time, this is an important part. And I think overall the chemical pharmaceutical industry, it's really kind of stuck in the 19th century. Not really, but it's been much slower to move. And AI gives us the opportunity to really digitize this industry from the ground up, because doing anything in the physical world is always expensive. So if you can do as much as possible in the computer with as little energy demand, even for the computer, as possible, it will save you huge amounts of time and money.
Yeah, famously in recent decades, the cost of developing a pharmaceutical drug has just ballooned astronomically. Yes. And then that means that downstream, the cost to the patient or the insurance company, and ultimately the patient or their employer, is somehow paying for that. So, and then it also, it makes the development, this huge costs, it creates a risk aversion culture in pharmaceuticals.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so, yeah, this is a very exciting application area, that I've thought about before for sure. The ability, like you're saying, to digitize, to be able to do in silico the kinds of estimations. I mean, you already gave us an amazing example at the outset of this episode where a client of yours had done laboriously, expensively, 15,000 tests of different, however many tests of 15,000 different candidate proteins. Yeah, exactly. And then you were able to blow their minds with suggesting 10, and in some cases of those 10, would seem like unusual suggestions suggested by the AI, but they end up, in many cases, like you described, having a huge impact. So this in silico, the cost savings. I mean, we talk about in startups of if you can do something, if you can show some 10x kind of multiple, whether that's a 10x efficiency increase. With this, you're talking about many orders of magnitude more than that.
Yes, 2 to 3. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.